Monster Hunter has usually been a game that usually focuses on monsters being ecological threats, especially when it came to Elder Dragons, or monsters that are simply just too dangerous or in the way that kind of just need to go, as they are threatening a village passerby or, villages passing by, trade routes, and all that. But one thing we really need to understand is that these monsters also have tragedies of their own, loss, or basically damaged individuals, broken ones, and sometimes, just crash outs that kind of get what they deserve. But overall, they do have an impact on how these monsters function and how they live. So today, we're going to talk about not one, not even five, but 10 top 10 most tragic monsters, how they pretty much got the way they are, and why they made the list. Keep in mind, some of these spots are shared by monsters, especially if they have like the same thing. So without further ado, comment down below, like and subscribe, and share with your friends. And let's begin. At number 10, I have the bird wyverns, or basically the raptorial wyverns. And so, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but these guys are just the saddest creatures in Monster Hunter. They are a successful species, don't get me wrong, but dear Lord, they get bullied like it is a 9 to 5. Like, they are that one kid in school, or that one group of kids in school that just get bullied by everybody. Like, nobody cares about them. They get bullied every time. Like, even if they breathe wrong, they get bullied. Plus, let's really talk about it. Now, I know that Unnatural History, shout out to him, definitely did it. But he actually pointed out something I never really bothered to notice, and that's the fact that they suffer a high mortality rate amongst the bigger monsters. Things like Monoblos, Gravios, Baroth, it doesn't matter. Astalos straight up mauled a Gaiodrome and ate him. Like, yo, Deviljho came down from the top rope and crushed one. And let's not forget when these guys were simply running around or, trying to escape a Nargacuja, and then all of a sudden, they're backed into a wall by it, and they're like, you know what? We might as well fight. Nah, y'all getting decimated. And they're just trying their best, but they get one-shotted, smacked around, and then this one right here has to get double smacked and likely his spine shattered by an Espinass. There is no worse luck in Monster Hunter. Then let's not forget the one that fought Apex Zinogre and got cannibalized by its own drones and stuff like that. Absolutely insane. However, nah, it got worse for them in Frontier. When I actually did an ecology video on Baruka Guru theorizing on why it definitely needs the drones and greats poisonous blood or blood supply to actually sustain itself, I never realized that it was actually going out of its way to decimate them. Like, entire packs were just being wiped out by this thing. And the funny part is, they don't get preyed upon by monsters like Rathalos and even Rathian, who would definitely take them at any opportunity. But Baruga Guru specifically went after them and said, you know what? Hey, you look delicious. I'm going to eat you and your whole entire family. And straight up was just, no diddy, sucking them dry of all their fluids, including their poison. Especially Iodrome, who just had one of the better poison glands. Well, maybe Iodrome and Great Rocky, depending on who you think has the better poison. Let me know down below. But the fact that Baruga Guru was going out of its way to decimate entire packs to sustain itself is absolutely ridiculous. They caught no breaks at all. And let's not forget the turf wars. And you just seeing Great Rocky like just get walked up on by Anjanath, it's just like, oh no, we know how this is exactly gonna go. Like, and here I thought Great Jaguars had it bad, but no, these guys just have it the worst, and they definitely get the number 10 spot. Number 9 is another shared spot, and I have the Stormborn Apexes, and this is because, well, kind of simple. I wanted to include the Frenzy monsters, but then I'm just like, nah, that's kind of too easy. I wanted to give monsters that are really not talked about as much, But let's talk about it. Each Apex is actually, well, I guess you could say kind of close to their original variant-like states, right? Which is actually pretty sad. And the reason why is because they had to push themselves beyond their limits in Ibushi's storm. Basically, when these guys were trapped in Ibushi's storms, they were basically suffering from an overdose of fear and anger, meaning that their bodies were forced to evolve to compensate. And these evolutions are apparently very painful. Now, again, this does mean that these monsters are very close to their, Dread Queen, Thunderlord, and bloodbath like states. And we know bloodbath is absolutely one of the most tragic monsters of all time. And I may put, he might be on this list, I don't know, I might put him in a tie for a #1 spot, but I'll let you guys know, because again, I'm still editing the video. But just to kind of give you guys a summary, these guys are absolutely horrendous. Like, the fact that their power level is higher, yes, but at what cost? To be honest, you're strong, but you're constantly scared and angry, not knowing if the same creature is really behind you, going to attack and kill you. And it's, I think, either Unnatural History said it or somebody else did, but I do think that they were likely afraid of becoming prey, and likely had to really adapt, evolve, and push themselves beyond their limits, like a whole Dragon Ball character or a whole Pokemon here, just to evolve and get to these state. And side note, by the way, I actually feel like there's a missed opportunity with those apexes. Like, how do the Risen Elder Dragons get their, Risen states, but these get their armor in Risen states, right? But these guys don't. Also, still missed opportunity. We could have had a state where Astalos gets like close to those Bolt Reaver levels and just looks cool doing it. Then you got Tiger X. I felt like that would have been perfect for an Apex variant. I mean, have him close to his Grimclaw counterpart, where his veins are like blue instead of like the traditional red and stuff like that. And he's got like the blue outlines and stuff. But again, it's not exactly a Grimclaw Tiger Rex, just kind of like how a Bloodbath Diablos or an Apex Diablos is just not a Bloodbath Diablos. But this would have been really cool to see. Then we also have Barioth, who also would have been perfect for the Apex. He could have had a similar state to where he could have been in between his normal and his Frostfang variant. But again, instead of being older and wiser, it's just a more beefed up Barioth. And then for some of the new monsters, Almadron. He's the perfect one to have an Apex variant that would have been perfect for Elder Dragon level status. And then maybe actually give some of the other Elder Dragon level monsters in the game, like Espinas, Garen Golem, and Luna Garen, their own Apex variants. But then again, that might have actually been like very broken. But yeah, these guys definitely get the #9 spot. They're in a constant state of rage and fear of being prey to a much more powerful and much stronger creature, and then their bodies were broken and forced to evolve in order to get to it. It's absolutely sad. At #8, we have Lao-Shan Lung. And in all honesty, looking back at this, I actually feel a lot more pity than the monster than I remember. This is a monster that was just simply trying to run away. And unfortunately, it would have had to go through the village. And it's very likely it didn't want to, obviously, about that. But the thing about it is, Lao-Shan Lung would have destroyed the village. It would have, probably killed countless of people, but it wouldn't have been its fault entirely, as it's trying to get away from Fatalis. Who wouldn't run from that? I mean, literally, it's known for, like, Teostra and Lao-Shan Lung are the ones that are known to like dip out if Fatalis appears. And I do think it's very possible that Fatalis may prey upon them, which makes perfect sense on why they're running. But knowing that Fatalis is coming, and you know good and well he's gonna come after you, I would dip too. There ain't no other way about it. I would get out of there as fast as I could if I heard Fatalis was coming. Like that's like Debo coming around. Like, who? Debo. And so you gotta tuck all your stuff in, but then he's still gonna snatch your chain anyway. But unfortunately for Lao-Shan Lung, we have to fight him. We have to repel him. And we send him back the way he came, likely to die at the hands of Fatalis and to be consumed. So in all honesty, he does deserve this #8 spot. At number 7, I have Scorned Magnamalo. Now, I don't feel too bad for this one because it's literally a mess around and find out kind of situation. But, you know, this still has consequences here. And it's one of the, well, probably the second best reason that we have to kill a monster or make sure we kill the monsters. So, Scorned Magnamalo are basically the male versions of the species that have suffered the damages from the hunter or hunters in general, or, you know, because Hino and Minato are also hunters, as well as Chef Yamugi and, well, yeah, a large majority of Komura Village's hunters have pretty much been able to fend off these Magnamalos. So, their armor, which is one of the few things that allows them to get a mate, because they have to take care of it in order to look attractive, pretty much just is not working, meaning they can't participate in the mating season because of how damaged and broken they look. Essentially, they too ugly to get some cheeks. So what happens is they have nothing left now. They have nothing left but to hunt and fight. And this pretty much has winded up with them getting Elder Dragon, or sorry, not Elder Dragon, Dragon Element into their system fully now. And believe it or not, this is because of their own actions, which is why I don't see, you know, I don't see it too bad about it. I don't think anyone really feels too bad about it. But at the end of the day, they are a tragic monster because it shows one of the few reasons why hunters do need to put down certain monsters and not let them be captured or allowed to just... Number 6 definitely goes to Savage Deviljho. Now, unlike Scorned Magnamalo, this is because it's in a place it should not be. Now, I will go into a full detailed video about why Deviljho shouldn't have been in Monster Hunter World. Not because of the whole game thing and the fans wanted him and stuff like that, but no. The ecological reasons on why Deviljho just doesn't work in the new world. It doesn't have too many large prey animals. It can't keep up with the advanced competition it has, and it tries to hunt elder dragons when it gets to that state, which is a desperate ploy and a kind of a cry for help, in my opinion. You see, Deviljho shouldn't be going out there hunting these top-tier creatures. Now, while yes, they can provide nourishment to it, maybe, but you're still hunting these creatures that would definitely be able to kill you and injure you to the point where you're not hunting ever again. It's not safe. It's not helpful to it. And then it has to go after, it's even, risking itself to become a meal when it's actually going up against Nergigante, whether it be Runer or base. And again, Nergigante consumes, beings that have high levels of energy. And Savage Deviljho would be no different. And then even when it's not, hunting, it's eventually going to just die off. Meaning that this is a case where a predator is simply not meant for the environment. This is one of the few reasons why Deviljho should have just stayed in the old world. Even though, yeah, some of the bigger prey animals are difficult, it still has suitable animals and suitable prey animals, I should say, that can easily feed on and events that can cater to it. But it definitely deserves this spot. Number 5, I have Arc Veiled. And believe it or not, I think it's understandable why. A monster that was ultimately created to resurrect a dying species, or an already extinct species, from whatever wiped it out in the first place. Then imagine waking up in a body that you feel isn't right. And then you now have to progress and try to find a way to really bring yourself back. You try everything, absorbing energy, trying to eat, trying to feed, but it's too erratic. It's too destructive. And you have no choice but for the sweet release of death. However, you managed to find your way. And great, you did a good job. But there's a problem. You're still relatively new here now. You were once, a species that probably thrived in this environment, yes. But now you're new. Your actions leave the ecosystem unbalanced. And so, you got to be turned into a nice pair of boots. Limited edition, mind you. No other hunter in the world is going to have those boots. Especially them boots. I'm just saying. However, you still manage to find a way to live on. You see, the tragedy of Arkveld is that he was a monster really trying to find his place in the world. And keep in mind, when he was discovered, he was acting like a frenzied monster, which, lo and behold, he actually was a frenzied, or at least suffering from the effects of frenzy. This may mean that the the wilds apexes may actually have a stronger immunity than old world apexes, but Arkveld definitely gets this number 5 spot because he was a species that had to find its way in life again. At number 4, I actually have chaotic Gore Magala, and it's no surprise that he's on this list. I probably shouldn't even have this kind of time just to explain it, but again, as I always do, we got to give every monster their credit. So, what makes chaotic Gore Magala so tragic? Well, as we all know, Gore Magalas have a molting process where they go from a Gore Magala all the way to a Shagaru Magala. However, if that process interrupted by an Elder Dragon level monster or another monster, they apparently come into a state of constant pain and agony because, well, their molting process failed. However, it then leads to the question, well, what messes up a chaotic Gore Magala's transformation, right? What could possibly go out of its way to mess it up? Well, its own kind. Shagaru Magala. Apparently the competition for it is actually extremely fierce to the point where they will actively mess up their own kind just to, make sure they're like the only Shagaru Magala within the area. Like, there cannot be 2 or more, as for some reason they just don't like that. But again, another Shagaru Magala just messing up another Gore Magala's molting process is actually pretty bad altogether. Meaning this creature has only one thing left going for it: death. The sweet release of death at that point. And believe it or not, this is one of the creatures that actually got hunters to have hearts. And I've seen players simply state they would never capture a chaotic Gore Magala. No matter how many times they would fight it, they would never capture it, because there is no way you're going to have that creature captured and studied when it needs to be put down. The only way to really grant that creature actually some kind of peace is death. But yep, he gets the number 4 spot. Number 3 should really be no surprise. It's literally Bloodbath Diablos. I mean, come on. This was the original. The first monster to actually make hunters really be like, hey, could you, could y'all put it down? Yeah, y'all have no way of really just, in all honesty, giving this monster any peace out in the wild. It'll deliberately attack people. It'll deliberately kill people. And it's kind of understandable why. It's a justifiable crash out, as this creature has been through everything. Like, it's a 9 to 5. This dude had his horn cut off, half of its tail cut off, and was beaten and humiliated by some overconfident punk hunter. And unfortunately for that same Diablos, I wonder if it actually got his get back. But it teaches us a lesson. If you're gonna kill a monster, best do it right then and there, because death is actually way merciful than having another Bloodbath Diablos around. The fact that it had to go through that constant pain and humiliation, but bettered itself and became one of the strongest creatures in Monster Hunter history, definitely shows that this monster was not to be played around with. But the fact that someone went out of its way to humiliate it, or maybe try to poach it, because again, it could have been some poaches and stuff like that, I definitely think Bloodbath Diablos is definitely deserving of the top 5 spots on this list. And in all honesty, if I didn't really study all these other monsters, it probably would have been number 1, as I think it's a lot more tragic than a chaotic Gore Magala, as this is kind of an unnatural phenomenon. But yeah, definitely gets number 3. At number 2, I have Morudomunto. Now, Morudo here is basically Deviljho as an Elder Dragon, and it's actually pretty tragic as well. Imagine having the same issues as Deviljho, But considering the sheer fact that you're an elder dragon, this means your energy reserves or the level of consumption that you need simply skyrocket. Imagine literally being so hungry that you have to evolve mouths on your wings to consume prey. That cannot be natural to have. Imagine having mouths on your wings. It's like Datara with mouths on his hands, except we know good and well what we would do to Datara. I'm just saying, no homo, or no Diddy and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, bro got them hands. Bro gonna have to put in a little bit of a work around here, if you know what I'm saying. But that's besides the point. Morudomunto is very interesting because it lives in the tundra as well, a place where you might think, yeah, don't you want to get some more reliable food? Wouldn't you want to move to a forest and stuff like that? But it seems comfortable and content where it is, but it's in a state of starvation almost, kind of like Deviljho, just having to really consume anything and everything that it comes across without any hesitation. And in all honesty, I do think this monster does need to come back in wilds, especially for its drip. Like the helmet for it, like the base regular helmet with like your full face covered, is absolutely breathtaking in all honesty. Especially with like the male and females as well. I definitely would give it all the credit possible. But in all honesty, I think that Morudomunto is definitely deserving of this spot. Imagine having to consume an elder dragon's level worth or an elder dragon worth of food every single day of your life. Dude, you'd be hungry constantly. But he definitely deserves the number one spot. The most tragic creatures in Monster Hunter are actually the villagers. Yeah, believe it or not, not every village has a residential hunter. So they rely on the means of the environment in order to survive. Keep in mind, this means that they're out there in the wilderness having to constantly deal with these monsters. Now you might say, oh, well, they're capable of dealing with it. Yeah, that's if the monsters don't wise up or basically don't have an alpha in their pack. Some of the smaller monsters are, yeah, quite casual, but we see people getting snatched, or at least we know from the lore, people get snatched from their villages, in their huts and everything. And most of the time, most of their civilizations just get wiped out by either a stampede caused by an elder dragon being in the region, or because, well, some monster decided to destroy their village, take their livestock, and even eat the people as well. It's actually pretty sad because in wilds, it's actually emphasized that we're the first interaction that people have with a hunter. From the wyverns or from Nata's people to the residents of the oil well basin to the residents of the Windward Plains. They are all pretty much looking to us as this kind of savior because they've never seen anyone being able to deal with these monsters. And the funny part about it is the hunters are vital parts of the environment. I mean, to be kind of honest, yeah, you're the super predator, if you will. And being able to kill a large majority of these monsters actually does benefit the villagers. Imagine if the world had no hunters. A lot of these villagers would end up dead, but that is the number one spot. I would definitely give it to the villagers because, again, imagine having to deal with all this for so long and not having hunters. Imagine your children getting snatched in the middle of the night by Genprey or Gaiadromes and stuff like that. Not being safe in anywhere you go because, again, you're living in the wilderness. But that is going to be all for today, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends, and I'll see you guys for another top 10.